Good morning. Welcome to Monday morning, day 7 of the 12 days to Comsmas. Now, this morning I want to talk to you about my pet hate when it comes to communication, because people, I think, are oblivious. I don't think people used to be oblivious to it, but now over time, society has just made it okay for there to always be at least 3 of us in every 2-person conversation. And the third person who risks being present in the important conversations in your life is your phone. So my pet hate when it comes to communicating effectively and with a wholehearted approach is your mobile phone. So the one thing I would encourage you to do in the conversations that count this Christmas, ditch your mobile phone. There is no need for it to play a part in your conversation, but its presence cannot be unfelt when it's there beside you when you are having a really important conversation with someone. Now, I know our phones have become an essential part of everyday life. I'm broadcasting from mine now, and I carry it from room to room when I'm in the house with me, just in case something important pops up. So I am not anti-phone, but what I do know is that meaningful communication happens when 2 people are present in the moment, when they are ignoring anything else that is happening in the world and are fully focused on each other. In those conversations, having your phone in sight even sends a subconscious message. So sometimes we think we're being quite polite because we leave our phone in our bag with the notification pinger on, and during a conversation you can just hear someone's phone going off in their bag. And I've yet to meet anybody that will convince me that they can ignore it, because even if it is a little shift, a little flick of the eye, a little awareness, look at the bag, that little noise that came out of that device just broke the moment of communication. Because in that moment you had to, or the person who owns the phone had to process the fact that there was a noise, and should they look, should they not? And I don't believe you can acknowledge the noise without thinking, I wonder who that is. I wonder if that's come through. God, I wonder if it's that email. It could be, could probably just be something on Facebook. In that little internal dialogue that you're having, it has completely disrupted the conversation you were having, and it has subconsciously sent a message to the person you're talking to say, I am interested in what you're saying. You are valuable in my world, but something else that might be happening in my world might be a little bit more interesting or a little bit more important, and that's why I've left that ringer on. So don't be oblivious to the message that your phone sends to the person you're talking to if you have it with you. Now, some people are very polite and they get their phone out and they put it on the table and they put it face down. It's still within eyeshot of the person you're talking to. So unless you are expecting an emergency call from a school, a nursery, a hospital, something that you cannot avoid taking, in which case explain that up front. But if it's just there out of habit, which 9 times out of 10, our phones are present in our conversations through nothing more than habit, please be aware that it still sends a message. It says, I am really enjoying this, but I've got my phone here, and if I want to in a minute, especially if you leave the table to have a wee or to put the kettle on, the first thing I'm going to do is turn it over and look, because I'm not fully present in the moment with you. Now, the trap when your phone is face up so that you can see the screen, notification sound might be off, but if you can see the front of that screen in a conversation and it flashes with a notification or a message or some piece of activity, it is as disruptive as if it was making a noise. And beware, when you glance over at it, look at the message that someone sent you and say, oh no, they can wait. That's a really destructive message to send to the person you're with, because we forget that what we do to others in front of someone allows them to understand what we will probably do to them in front of others. So the fact that you've glanced at someone's message, you've interrupted the conversation you've interrupted it to look, you've looked at the person and what it is they're telling you, and then you've decided that they're not as much of a priority. It's a really horrible subconscious message to send to the person you're with, that you know, if it wasn't important, then why have your phone on the table in the first place? Why have it face up? Why have it even in sight? And then don't think that the person won't imagine the situation the next time they message you where you're glancing at it when you're with someone else going, oh no, that's not important. She's not important. She can wait. But it's horrible to think that we are treated like that, but we forget that the way we show people that we treat others is an indication of how we are likely to treat them in the future in a different situation. So beware of that. And then when it comes to phones, the reason that this has become my number one pet hate when it comes to the ability to destroy an important conversation in a heartbeat is that 9 times out of 10 these days, a phone is attached to a smartwatch. Now, you and I both know, in the olden times, when you couldn't read an email from your wrist, if you were in a conversation with someone and they glanced down at their wrist, it was because they were looking for the time. 9 times out of 10, because they wanted to leave, had to leave, or were just bored and were checking out how long it would be until they could leave. So looking at your wrist to check the time during a conversation is a very obvious and negative display of body language that says, I'd like this conversation to end. Or I am aware that I want it to end soon. The fact that your smartphone can now communicate with your smartwatch, and every email, every WhatsApp message, every Facebook notification, depending on how you have the settings, will then ping on your wrist. Not only then do you glance at your wrist to see what the message is, but it's also got that subliminal message that actually I'd like the conversation to end now because I'm watching the clock. So the kindest thing that you could do is turn all your devices off, because the minute you glance at something, it underpins and it challenges everything that we've talked about in the last few days. It interrupts your conversation. It means that you are not really hearing and not really understanding the person that you're with. You're not communicating clearly and kindly, and actually it loses and causes you to lose your train of thought, and you break eye contact. So if there is one piece of poisonous communication activity that I could offer you to consider this season, it belongs to the device that is probably surgically attached to your hand for most of the holiday season. So if you want your communication to matter and you want it to count, then please consider that there's never a third person in the conversation you're having. Ditch your phone and ditch your watch if those two things speak to each other. I can't tell you the positive impact that will have. Right. Happy Monday, everyone. I'll see you back here tomorrow for day 8. Ciao for now.